More than 20 people have died in violence in eastern Ukraine as the leaders of Russia, Ukraine, France and Germany prepare for peace talks. 19 Ukrainian soldiers were killed, many in the town that pro-Russian rebels say they have surrounded. 5 people were reported killed by shelling in rebel-held Donetsk. The talks in the Belarusian capital Minsk are set to focus on securing a ceasefire, withdrawal of heavy weapons and creating a demilitarized zone. But negotiators are still trying to narrow differences ahead of the summit, to be attended by Russia's President Vladimir Putin and Ukraine's President Petro Poroshenko, as well as Francois Hollande of France and Germany's Angela Merkel. While the Ukrainian government is seeking a demarcation line based on the failed ceasefire agreed on September 5 in Belarus last year, the rebels want a new truce to reflect the gains they have made in recent weeks, the BBC's James Reynolds reports from Donetsk. More than 5,400 people have died since the conflict began, and there has been a dramatic rise in casualties in recent days, with 263 civilians killed in populated areas between January 31 and February 5. With both sides seeking territorial gains before a potential ceasefire, there are fears that the violence could undermine attempts to secure a long-term deal. The majority of Ukrainian military casualties were near Belarusian, a major transport hub where thousands of soldiers are under rebel siege. The separatists say they have cut off the main supply road into the town from the west as they try to capture a tongue-shaped area that cuts into the eastern regions of Donetsk and Luhansk. At least 2 people were killed and several more injured when a shell hit a bus station in rebel-controlled Donetsk early on Wednesday. 3 more deaths were reported overnight by local authorities. Volunteer pro-government fighters have also seized territory this week, capturing villages from the rebels outside the government-held of Mariupol. Ukraine's President Petro Poroshenko said Wednesday's summit was one of the final chances to bring about an unconditional ceasefire and withdrawal of heavy weapons. But he warned that his government was prepared to impose martial law throughout Ukraine if the conflict escalated further. EU Foreign Policy Chief Federica Mogherini told AFP news agency that if a deal was reached, the Minsk summit would be a turning point for good or for bad. Ukraine and the West accuse Russia of sending troops and arms to support the rebels, but Russia denies this. U.S. President Barack Obama has refused to rule out supplying lethal defensive weapons to Kyiv if diplomacy fails, but Russia says that would worsen the crisis.